There are currently 7 different classes in Brawl Stars: Damage Dealer, Artillery, Controller, Tank, Support, Marksman, and Assassin. One brawler is put into one of these classes, and that just defines the brawler on surface level. This is bad. This makes it look like certain brawlers are supposed to be used on the same map as others. That's obviously not true, and in this video, I'm going to offer my concept of a rework to how classes work. Before we begin, make sure to... let's just cut to the chase. First off, I'm removing the Artillery class. Artillery isn't a necessary class in the game. It's obvious if someone is an artillery brawler or not if you take one look at their attack. Plus, most artillery brawlers are just controllers anyway. This class is otherwise irrelevant. Not to worry though, as I've made a new class to replace that one, the Speedster class. This class is for brawlers who focus on mobility. Mobility is an extremely important thing for certain brawlers to have. It's useful in modes like Brawl Ball and Heist, so having a class related to it helps. I'll go into more detail when I talk about that class in specific, but right now, that's all you need to know for it. Finally, I'm not just going to give one class to each brawler. Each brawler will have a main class. This is what the brawler is primarily used for, so if you need a brawler for that purpose, it's usually a good pick. But there will also be subclasses. These are 1 or 2 classes that the brawler also has, and these focus on smaller things that a brawler can also do well. For example, Bayer's main class is to, support. His main purpose is to heal allies, but his subclass is Marksman, as he fits perfectly well as a Marksman too. And this will give the player a better idea on the brawler and its specific use cases. The way I'll format this is I'll be putting the brawlers who have the class as their main class on the left and bigger, while those who have the class as a subclass will be on the right and smaller. I'll also be going over all the choices that may be perceived as odd as well. There won't be a set in stone order for the classes I'll talk about though. They'll just be done in the way I see fit. That all makes sense? Good. Let's start with the class arrangement. The Damage Dealer class is a class focused on, dealing damage. The characters are primarily tank counters and they are mostly better at close range. These are the brawlers inside this class. B, despite being labeled a Marksman, is really great at being a tank counter. She fits better as a Damage Dealer more in my opinion. Willow doesn't really belong in any class, but Damage Dealer is probably her best class, as she's a tank counter who can also deal a lot of damage if she spams her attack. The twins are similar where they don't fit in any certain class, but Damage Dealer is the best spot I can put them in. Meg isn't even that much of a tank, but no other class fits better than Damage Dealer. Charlie doesn't deal much damage, but once she gets close it racks up, and her super also makes her tank counter. The Maisie is a weird one. On release I'd say she fits the controller better, but nowadays I think Damage Dealer is a more accurate description. El Primo is a tank, but he also somehow works as a tank counter. Tick is definitely more of a controller, but his mines really do deal a lot of damage, and they can do a lot on certain modes. Despite being the brawler with the most range, Mandy is one of the few marksmen who fit as a damage dealer to me. Her super does a lot of damage and so does her basic attack, and then there's her hypercharge. Not much else to say there. And Gus actually surprisingly has a bit of an oomph to his shots. Plus he can even hit his shots consistently, letting him be a damage dealer too. Fun fact, all the original damage dealers are here except for RT. RT doesn't do much damage himself. His mark is more so supporting his allies rather than letting him deal damage himself. I just don't think he fits the class very well. The tank class is a class full of high health brawlers who act as a shield for allies and usually have a small amount of range. These are the brawlers inside the class. None of the brawlers in the main class should be too surprising, but Gigi being in the tank class might be a little weird. This is mostly because Gigi's supposed to take shots to charge her actual super, similar to what a tank does. This may be a bit of a technicality, but it is technically what a tank does, so I did put Gigi here. Then Fang is also a tank in a way, as he has enough health to act as one, as he's usually trying to keep his teammates safe when he doesn't have a super. Brawlers like Pam, Pearl, and 8-Bit all have a lot of health, and I'd argue that Pam and Pearl sometimes act more as tanks than their actual role. And back to RT, he already has enough health, and then the extra health he gets when switching forms pretty much makes him one of the tankiest brawlers in the game. Finally, Nita herself isn't really a tank, but I'd say Bruce's main use, other than shredding the heist safe, is to tank for herself and her teammates. He's too slow to deal damage, so being a tank is his best role. Other summoners aren't here as they fit other roles better. The support class is a class designed with characters who are normally pretty weak on their own, but when paired up with one or more characters, is a lot more effective and will help said characters, usually in the form of healing. These are the brawlers in this class. Gene is a support in a different way. He doesn't heal unless you're using his star power, but he helps support tanks and assassins kill an enemy that's normally out of range. Both Finks and Meeple have supers that also buff their teammates. Neither would have support as a main class and neither heal the team, but there's no doubt that these supers are supposed to support the team. Same goes for Sandy, but on a much larger scale. Sprout provides walls and depending on the team composition, can help his teammates either escape more easily or have more control. Ollie's super literally is about supporting your teammates and helping them kill some enemies. There's no denying that. And Buster's super provides cover for teammates. It's something both a tank and a support are supposed to do. Then the last time mentioning RT, does Marks help his teammates deal more damage? Another example of support in a bit more of a technical way. Maybe my definition of support is a bit off. A lot of these guys don't do any sort of healing. But it's still technically supporting, so there's that. The assassin class is a class about rushing down the enemy and killing them. These characters normally have a way to approach and have quite a bit of range when it comes to how much health they have. These are the brawlers inside this class. We all know the whole mess of Kit being a support, assassin, whatever, but the fact that he has a gadget that is just a mini Leon super is stupid. You can argue what class fits better for him, but I think I've seen Kit a lot more as an assassin than a support. Carl's super is all about overwhelming the enemy, and combine that with his flying hook gadget, that's pretty much just an assassin. Both Trunk and Moe's supers are about dashing towards the enemy and killing them. Sure, they can also be used for escape, but they're better at dashing in like assassins do. Mina is literally just Stu, but she dashes every time she uses a main attack instead. And Stu's an assassin, so... Sam is definitely more of a tank than an assassin, but he still has some assassin traits like a speed boost after using a super and his pole gadget. And Gray's super is primarily to help the team teleport further, but it's also an easy way to jump at and kill an enemy that's one shot away from dying. Crow is the only original assassin not on the list, and it's pretty obvious why. It was clearly designed as a different type of assassin, and those types now fit more into another category. Speaking of, the controller class is a class designed for characters who are able to control the map in certain ways. Basically crowd control, whether it be by their abilities or by their mere presence. A controller can take on many different forms. These are the brawlers inside this class. Back to Crow, his main attack forces brawlers to move away and he can slow them down as well. He fits way better as a controller than an assassin. Rico definitely does a lot of damage, but he has a lot of range too, especially with the walls. Forcing the enemies to move around in certain ways to avoid getting hit definitely makes him at least somewhat of a controller. Ruffs is similar to Rico where his shots force enemies to run away, albeit to a much lower scale, but the threat still exists either way. Lola's ego is more so for dealing damage, but if you put it on the right spot, it makes Lola have double the pressure, forcing the enemies to move back. And B's super is pretty much an easy kill on whoever it hits, plus it's a slow, so the enemies have to run away or probably die. Surge's super hitting someone is pretty much a free 8,000 damage, and it also forces enemies to stay away so they don't get hit by it. Trunk and Barry both leave their puddles on the ground, and the enemies normally don't want to stick around them, forcing them to move back or at least stay away from those. Moe's main attack covers quite a bit of area, and you never really know how much damage you're going to take from it, so you're more likely to stay away, especially since you can charge a super at double the speed if he wants. Meanwhile, Belle's bounce shots are pretty much just like Jesse's, forcing the enemies to stay back from each other, and Jesse's already controller, so Belle fits as well. Juju's water attack is already a reason enough to stay away. That slow is deadly, then Grigri's presence also forces the enemy to run, similar to most other summoners here. Hank's main attack is pretty big as well, and the enemies have to run away from it or suffer the 4,000 damage from it. Angelo has a similar attack, but Angelo's here for a different reason. Their super forces enemies to stay back or also face 4,000 damage, plus the poison it gives. Nobody wants to get near that. E's super also does almost no damage, that thing is strictly for control, so her being a controller makes way more sense than a damage healer, at least for her main class. And finally, literally no other class fits Janet, so I just put her in the controller class, because at least her gadget controls some area for a little bit. However, if you have better ideas in the comments, please tell me, because I did not know where else to put this person. The Marksman class is the place that focuses on brawlers who have a huge range, and are mostly played on open maps, having a below average health as well. These are the brawlers inside this class. Grawl may not have the same type of attack as all the other marksmen have, but his shots still have a very long range, while he himself is pretty squishy. And he's decent on marksman maps as well, putting him here. And Colt may use multiple shots instead of just one, but that's literally the only thing that's unique about him compared to other marksmen. He still has range and around the same health, and he also fits pretty well in this class. Also, this class is the most removed, with Bonnie, Janet, and Maisie being removed. And let's face it, none of these guys fit as marksmen. Janet and Maisie don't have the range, and Bonnie's just bad on range maps. Especially since speed is such a big factor, and she's slow in cannon form. I also wanted to put some other brawlers here, but marksman is a very specific class. Having someone like Eve in this class would make a lot of sense, even if I wanted to put her here. The Speedster class is focused on characters who are all about mobility. They move them around the map at fast speeds and can reach certain destinations more easily than most brawlers. These are the brawlers inside this class. Pretty much every brawler with a dash and then their base kit is in this category. Mortis, Stu, Mina, they all can move around the map very quickly. The Max and Jae-young also have huge emphasis on speed in their kits, while also being able to support the team by giving them some speed boost too. Edgar, Shade, and Sam all have supers that give them a speed boost. Edgar and Sam both get them fast, while Shades isn't as fast, but they also go through walls, making up for that. Buzz might not even be here if his gadget and hypercharge didn't exist, but he can just zoom across the map thanks to those, placing him here as well. And Chuck would not fit in any class. I'd have to put in controller, but Speedster is the perfect new class for him. You can't put this guy anywhere else, honestly. And Kaze is a bit weird, since although she does have a dash, I don't think it's really used for movement. I put her here anyway, but she might not belong here as well as the other brawlers. But with that, this is my take on how a new class system should work. I think this would make brawlers feel way more unique than they currently are, as being able to go to up to 3 different classes will make them feel much more special than their current single class. And for real now, please consider liking and subscribing, as it would really mean a lot. Let me know if I should make more content similar to this as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.